This Tim Bunch, and I'll be talking about the death penalty. The death penalty is an issue that has the United States quite divided. While there are many supporters of it, there are also a large amount of opposition. Currently, there are 33 states in which the death penalty is legal and 17 states that have abolished it. I believe the death penalty should be legal throughout the nation. There are many reasons as to why I believe the death penalty should be legalized in all states, including deterrence, retribution, and morality. And because opposing arguments do not hold up, I will refute the ideas that the death penalty is unconstitutional. The use of capital punishment greatly deters citizens from committing crimes such as murder. Many people's greatest fear is death. Therefore, if they know that death is a possible consequence for their actions, they are less likely to perform such actions. Ernest von den Haag, a professor at Fordham University, wrote about the issue of deterrence. Capital punishment is likely to deter more than any other punishment because people fear death more than anything else. They fear death more than anything else, deliberately inflicted by law and scheduled by the courts. Hence, the threat of the death penalty may deter some murderers who otherwise might have been deterred. And surely the death penalty is the only penalty that could deter prisoners already serving a life sentence and tempted to kill a guard, or offenders about to be arrested and facing a life sentence. Van den Haag brings forth the argument that capital punishment is the strongest deterrent society has against murder, which has been proven in many studies. Since society has the highest interest in preventing murder, it should use the strongest punishment available to deter murder. In 1973, it was found that for each execution of a criminal, 7 potential victims were saved. This was due to other possible murderers being deterred from committing murder after realizing that criminals are executed for their crimes. Ehrlich's argument was also backed up by studies following his studies that have been similar results. Capital punishment also acts as a deterrent for criminals. If the criminal is executed, he has no opportunity to commit crimes again. Some may argue that there is not enough concrete evidence to use deterrence as an argument for the death penalty. The reason some evidence may be inconclusive is that the death penalty often takes a while to be carried out. Some prisoners sit on death row for years before being executed. This can influence the effectiveness of deterrence because punishments that are carried out swiftly are better examples than others. Although the death penalty is already effective at deterring possible criminals, it would be even more effective if the legal process were carried out more quickly instead of having inmates on death row for years. The death penalty also carries out retribution justly. Deserved punishment protects society morality by restoring this just order, making the wrongdoer pay a price equal to the harm he has done. When someone commits a crime, it disrupts the order of society. These crimes take away lives, peace, and liberties from society. Giving the death penalty as a punishment simply restores order to society and adequately punishes the criminal for his wrongdoing. Retribution also serves justice for murder victims and their families. Some may see this as revenge, but this retribution is not motivated by malice. Rather, it is motivated by the need for justice and principle of the eye for an eye. This lack of malice is proven in the simple definition of retribution. Retribution is a state-sponsored irrational response to criminality that is justified given that the state is the victim when a crime occurs. A death penalty puts the scales of justice back in balance after they were unfairly tipped towards the criminal. The morality of the death penalty has been hotly debated for many years. Those opposed to the death penalty say that it is immoral for the government to take the life of a citizen under any circumstance. This argument is refuted by Immanuel Kant, who put forth the idea that a society that is willing to demand a life of somebody who has taken somebody else's life is simply immoral. It is moral to not properly punish a person who has committed such a heinous crime. The criminal is also executed humanely. In no way is a subject to torture of any form of cruelty. All states that use the death penalty use lethal injection. The days of subjecting a prisoner to hanging or the electric chair are far over. Inmates are first given a large dose of an anesthetic so they do not feel any pain. This proves that the process is made as humane as possible to the inmates do not physically suffer. Although the issue of morale is very personal for some people, It is important to see the facts and realize that the capital punishment does not take morality into account and therefore is carried out in the best way possible. The 8th Amendment of the United States Constitution prevents cruel and unusual punishment. Many opponents of capital punishment say that execution is cruel and unusual punishment and therefore violates the Constitution. As was stated earlier, the recipient of the death penalty is treated humanely and is not tortured in any way, shape, or form. Although the anesthetic is administered, the person feels no pain. The only part of the process that can be considered painful is when the IV is injected. But that is done in hospitals on a daily basis, and no one is calling it unconstitutional. The Supreme Court has repeatedly upheld the death penalty as constitutional in cases that have presided over. In the case of Furman v. Georgia, the court stated the punishment of death is not cruel, but the meaning of that word is used in the Constitution. It implies there is nothing more inhuman and barbarous than the mere extinguishment of life. The Supreme Court has not found capital punishment to be unconstitutional, and therefore this argument for abolition is invalid. Another argument put forth by death penalty is that the possibility of executing an innocent person. Many people that argue this overestimated how often this happens. It is an extremely rare occurrence that has not happened since 1976. Stephen D. Stewart, the prosecuting attorney for Clark County, Indiana, very effectively refutes this argument. No system of justice can produce results which are 100% certain all the time. Mistakes will be made in any system which relies upon human testimony for proof. We should be vigilant to uncover and avoid such mistakes. Our system of justice rightfully demands a higher standard for death penalty cases. However, the risk of making a mistake with the due process applied in death penalty cases is very small, and there is no credible evidence to show that any innocent persons have been executed, at least since the death penalty was reinactivated in 1976. The inevitability of a mistake should not serve as grounds to eliminate the death penalty any more than the risk of having a fatal wreck should make automobiles illegal. Stewart points out that death penalty cases are held to a much higher standard due process, and these cases takes much longer, so the court can be absolutely sure that the person is guilty before sentencing him to execution. This helps to eliminate any errors that could lead to executing the wrong person. He also points out that although there is a small possibility for mistakes to be made, this does not mean capital punishment should be abolished. If everything that had the potential for harmful mistakes were outlawed, society would be extremely crippled. Therefore, I do think that the criminal punishment for a criminal should be the death penalty.